Hi, this video is about preparing slides for staining. So you're going to need, first of all, your lab gown, your gloves, and you're going to need to wear safety goggles throughout this procedure so that we'll all be safe. So we're going to start with some growth that we have collected on a petri dish. We're going to end up with a slide that will be ready to stain and then view. So you need a blank slide. You'll need your inoculation loop, one of your favorite tools in the etiology lab. We'll eventually need a clothespin, also known as a slide manipulation device from Dollar Tree. You'll need some water, either from the tap or from a dropper. And then you will need the bacterial incinerator. Safety. These are hot. It incinerates bacteria. You don't want to touch it. It says right there, caution hot. If you were to see, I don't know if you can see this on the video, but inside there it's glowing orange. That is very hot. Alright, so if you need to, for instance, tie back long hair, that's a good idea. And you want to have these placed on the table where one or two or three people can reach them, but not where you have to reach directly across to do things, because you might forget, and that's a good way to end up burning a forearm, for instance. We want to be safe first. Alright, so let's start by taking a clean slide, an inoculation loop. First thing we have to do is make this sterile using sterile technique. So I simply stick the wire end of this loop into the cylinder where it's glowing orange. If I hold it for just a second or two, I can see the end of that starting to glow orange. Now I pull it out, it is sterile. If I now lay it down on the desk, it's no longer sterile. So I keep it in usually my dominant hand, that's my right hand. Now we need to let it cool just a little bit. That is probably about 30 seconds for most things because we don't want to kill off any bacteria. So our first step is to take our clean slide and we're going to place a drop of water on the slide. A small drop of water is good. So if you put an entire big dropper drop, that's going to be more than you need. So the way I like to do it is to take my loop, I'll take the drop and I'll put it right on the end of the loop. And that little loop will hold a little water. Then I can touch that right down to slide there. Okay, and that's all that I need. That's probably more than I need on that one. Now I'm going to inoculate. I'm going to sterilize my loop again because we don't know if that water, probably not completely sterile. The end of my loop starts to glow, and then I pull it out and let it cool. And now I have my growth plate, my petri dish. The best way, we don't want these to get contaminated, so we don't want to just simply open up our plates and leave them lying on the desk. Because right now, bacterial spores, mold spores, dust, and things are falling in that plate. So we keep it closed, lid side down, and whenever I want to use it with my non-dominant hand, not holding the loop, I just simply pick up the plate, use it, and then I immediately close it again. So I'm going to want to get a small amount of bacteria to put into this water with the tip of my loop. This plate has lots of different kinds of bacteria growing. I can tell because the different colonies have different colors and shapes. I want to choose one to look at. And so I'm going to choose one. I'm going to get a small amount of bacteria. Most students get too much. They think a small is like a big old scoop. You just want to get a little tiny bit. So I'm just going to touch one of these colonies or the end of my loop. Get just a little bit of bacteria on it. There's a dot that I can really barely see there. And then using my loop, I'm just going to mix that bacteria into this drop of water. Then I'm going to start to spread this water all over the slide. I'm going to smear it. The more you spread it out, the better. You're making a thin smear of water and cells, bacteria cells, all over the slide. Now I need to let this slide air dry. So I'm going to set it aside, and it'll air dry depending on how much water and the conditions, a minute, 5 minutes or more. Now I'm going to sterilize my loop one more time because it's got bacteria on there. I don't want to just set it down on the desk and start spreading contaminants around. Pull it out, it's sterile, and I can set it aside. Now I have already prepared an air-dried slide, so I did that before we started. And now we're going to use the heat from our incinerator to actually heat fix this slide. What heat fixation does is takes the bacteria and makes it stick to the glass slide because we're going to be pouring liquid stains on there and we don't want our cells to all wash off. So I'm going to hold the slide with one of my clothespins. This is going to protect me from the heat. Now I simply take this slide, I'm going to hold it over the end of the incinerator so the heat is coming out of the incinerator then rising up. So I hold it right over just above the hole, over the top of that the opening of the incinerator. And I'm going to keep it here for 30 seconds to a minute or so. If you heat fix them too long, you actually start to shrink and distort the cells. So I'll pass that there for a minute or so, and then I'm going to remove it. Now I don't at this point grab the slide because it's hot. I can just use the clothespin and it will sit there until I'm ready to stain this. Other ways to heat fix: if we had a Bunsen burner, you can simply pass the slide through the flame 2 or 3 times and that will heat fix it as well. So now we have a slide with a small amount of bacteria that you may not even see much of anything on the slide. That's okay. But there's bacteria stuck to the slide, and then we're ready to move on and actually stain it, and that's the next step.